It's the first day of winter and version 1.6 has just come out. There's a lot of new things for me to discover and I'm really hoping that there's another way to get metal bars. I'm currently reorganising my sprinkler setup to make it more efficient. After saying hello to Hugo, I head towards town to see if there's anything new. I spot a weird shadow fellow and, like every character in a horror movie, I decide to follow it. However, I got distracted and went into the tunnel and placed a battery pack inside the thingy on the wall. I went to the community centre and handed in 10 hay for the friendship bundle. After that, I went and found Caroline to give her an out-of-season pumpkin. As I was looking for winter forageables, I found a prehistoric hand axe that can be given to Gunther at some point. I headed back to the community centre to hand in a Nautilus shell and completed another bundle. I got a recycling machine as a reward. As I was leaving, I suddenly remembered the shadow creature and found him lurking near the playground. Does that not seem a bit weird to anyone else? They gave me a magnifying glass for some reason. Thanks, I guess. After sorting out my inventory, I decided to go to bed. During the night, some blue fella flew over the valley and dropped a load of mystery boxes for me to find. I'm pretty sure I will forget about this though. It was snowing on day 86 and it felt a bit weird not having any crops to grow. Robin sent me a letter about her wood chipper. I managed to find a snow yam on the farm, which is exactly what I needed. I also found a crocus right next to Linus's tent. I don't think he needed that. I went straight to the community centre and handed them both in, completing yet another bundle. My reward was 30 winter seeds. After that, I swung by the museum and gave the prehistoric hand axe to Gunther. I feel kind of bad for Gunther because he doesn't really have a home. Not a proper one anyway. Maybe he sleeps with the artifacts. As I was heading back to the farm for something, I found some powder melon seeds in the ground. So much for no growing crops this season. Whilst I was sorting out the seeds, I noticed that I had another letter and it was from Willie asking me to catch him a squid. Instead, I went and asked Clint to open some geodes. He gave me a fairy stone which will be added to Gunther's rock collection, as well as a petrified slime. They were both given to Gunther, much to his delight. After that, I decided to do a bit of fishing and caught a lingcod, as well as a perch. Then I went to the beach and I caught a squid. Eventually, I went to bed after a very productive day. I didn't have any plans on day 87, but I know that buying the most expensive bundle in the community centre wasn't meant to happen. Regardless, that's one more star for the community centre achieved. I also got a crystallarium, which is quite good. I headed to the beach and I gave Willie a squid. While I was there, I noticed there was a new machine and I saw that I could change the style of my bobber. I made the obvious choice and changed it to be a bear. Whilst fighting some void spirits, I found my first secret note, thanks to the magnifying glass. For some reason, I found a new shirt in a barrel. I like it, so I'm going to keep it. At some point, I found my second secret note. As I was fighting, I didn't notice how low my health was, and I ended up dying. Annoyed by myself, I went to bed at a pretty early time. During the night, the Junimos very kindly fixed the bus stop. It was going to be a pretty lazy day, as I spent most of the morning foraging for stuff. I did find a new thing, which was a book called Jack Be Nimble, Jack Be Thick, which gives +1 defence. I spent the rest of the afternoon fishing, and after a bit of difficulty, I caught a sturgeon. Feeling pretty proud of myself, I went back to the mines and found an iron bar. The luck didn't stop there, as I got a strange bun and a copper bar. I remembered that I still had the sturgeon on me, and if I lost it, I would be furious, so I headed to the community centre and handed it in, completing another bundle. After that, I went to bed. Day 89 was a Friday and the travelling card was here. I bought some massively overpriced amaranth seeds as I needed some for a quest. After doing some foraging, I headed to the bus stop to actually catch the bus and find a new area. We arrived in Calico Desert and I found a coconut and a cactus. As I was there, I also caught a sandfish. And I also caught this new thing called river jelly. I then went into the only building there and I met Sandy. After doing a bit of exploring, I decided to head back to the valley. Next stop was the community centre, where I handed in the sandfish and the coconut and the cactus. Eventually, I decided to go to bed. On day 90, I got a few requests in the mail. I got a letter from Mr. Key asking me to get to floor 25, and a letter from Clint asking me to give Emily an amethyst. I decided to go and see Clint, and he gave me a piece of obsidian and a prismatic shard. That is so pretty lucky. While I was there, I also asked Clint to upgrade my axe. Then I went to the museum and handed in the obsidian and the prismatic shard. I know, I should have kept it for a new sword. spent the rest of the day fighting void spirits and mining gold. I didn't get any bars, but I did manage to get out before I died. Naturally, I decided to go to bed next. It was snowing the next day, and Pierre was telling me about the year ending. I had actually gathered that. Lewis had dropped off a letter telling me about the Festival of Ice. The travelling cart was here again, but I didn't see anything that I needed. I waited for Emily to leave her room to give her an amethyst on behalf of Clint. After that, I went into the mines to take metal bars from void spirits. I also tried fishing for the ice pit, but it didn't want to appear, so I went home and slept. It was festival day, but that didn't stop me from going into town and collecting a quest to defeat 50 dust sprites. I popped by the beach and found a dried starfish, which will be added to the museum when it's next open. The travelling cart was here at the festival, so I bought the snow rarecrow from them. Then I took part in a fishing competition. For some reason, I don't like this one. I think it's mainly because it's just really slow. Eventually, it was over and somehow I won. After all that excitement, I headed to the mines to make a start on the quest. I found another book called the Monster Compendium. This means that monsters have a small chance to drop double loot. That will help with this challenge massively. Time was ticking, so I raced back home to bed. Some powder melons and forageables are ready to be harvested on day 93. My copper axe was also ready, thanks Clint. I dropped by the museum and handed in the dried starfish. Then I went to the mines to carry on the quest for Clint. After spending a lot of time fighting, I finally managed to complete the quest and got a big reward for it. I then went and fought some void spirits and found another secret note. I didn't find any bars, so I went home and dreamed of level 8 mining. The rest of the forageables were ready to be harvested on day 94, as well as some powder melons. I also had a recipe in the mail from Clint for the geode crusher. Then I ran around the farm and gathered hardwood with my newly upgraded axe. I grabbed some resources and ran to Robin to ask her to upgrade my barn. She happily agreed after I handed over 12,000 gold. After that, I headed into the mines to gather more metal bars. I had a very successful time getting 3 copper bars, 1 iron and 1 gold bar, as well as 2 secret notes. I said goodnight to Hugo and dreamed of level 8 foraging. The bookseller was in town today, and I have a feeling that I'll shop there as much as I shop at the travelling cart. Instead, I decided that today would be spent in the mines looking for more metal bars. I didn't have too much luck, so I headed home with quite low health. Maybe I should take food into the mines. The wizard sent me a letter asking for void essence on day 96. As I was harvesting powder melons, I got a notification that Squidfest had started. Instead, I went to the travelling cart and didn't buy anything. I then went to Marnie's and bought a goat, who I named Clover. I also handed over the void essence to the wizard. Eventually, I made my way to the beach and saw the Squidfest event happening. There were a lot of background NPCs that you could interact with, and a prize booth as well. I tried my luck at fishing, but I got a sea jelly instead. After fishing for many in-game hours, I got an amazing total of 1 squid, and I got some deluxe bait as a prize. A few hours later, I was up to 5 squid, and this time I had a lot of prizes to collect. As I was heading back to the farm, I noticed that there was a prize ticket to collect. These can be traded in at Lewis's house, but that's going to be a future thing as I went to bed instead and dreamed of level 9 fishing. I did my usual farm chores today, and you might have noticed that there was a notification in the bottom left every now and then. That lets the player know that they've leveled up a skill. I handed over the prize ticket in Lewis's house and got 12 powder melon seeds as reward. Then it was back to fishing. I didn't have much luck and I headed back to the farm to place down the seeds. After that, I spent most of the evening in the mines trying to get more metal bars. Eventually, I went back home to bed and dreamed of level 9 farming. There was a letter for me the next day telling me about a fleet of boats that would be arriving at the valley. I dropped by the travelling cart and once again bought nothing. After chatting to a few NPCs, I headed into the mines for more metal bars. While I was selling stuff at the Adventurers Guild, I noticed a present. It might have been for Marlon, but I opened it. It was a book called The Map and Cave Systems, and it gives me a 50% discount at the item retrieval service. I went back into the mines and found some more bars. Eventually, I went back home. After doing some farm chores, I headed straight to the mines. After some good luck in the mines, I headed through town and collected Gus's omelette quest. I did check out the night market, but I didn't find anything too interesting, so I went home to bed. I spent the morning running around and annoying the NPCs. I spoke to Caroline and she gave me that cutscene with the tea. Good news is that I now have access to a tea plant. I remembered to drop off eggs for Gus for his omelette. Then I headed back into the mines for more metal bars. Eventually, I made my way to the night market and, oh my god, I actually bought something from the travelling cart, and it's useful! I did a bit of inventory cleaning before heading to bed. It's officially been 100 days without using a furnace in Stardew Valley, and what better way to celebrate it than with a tea sapling recipe from Caroline? Clint had to ruin the mood by asking for an iron bar. I also managed to milk Clover for the first time. I decided that I desperately needed to upgrade my tools, so I asked Clint to upgrade my axe to be steel, and while I was there, I dropped off the iron bar. After spending 6 iron bars, I needed metal bars more than ever, so I headed back into the mines. I took a short break to hand in the eggs to Gus. The night market opened again and I saw a glorious sight, a red cabbage. It's almost like I bought the seeds the day before. I also bought a fiddlehead fern. I ran to the community centre and completed yet another friendship bundle. I got a seed maker as a reward. I also handed in the fiddlehead fern. Happy with the day, I jumped into bed. On day 102 there was a pale ale ready for Pam and a letter. The letter was about the gift exchange and this year my secret friend was Elliot. As I was running around the farm, I found a rusty spur. I gave Hugo a hug and he gave me a heart. Aww. I made my way to town and handed over the rusty spur to the museum. I also remembered to give the pale ale to Pam. After that, I headed into the mines to find more metal bars. A bit later, I headed to the saloon and hand over more eggs. I spent a bit of time running around the valley and eventually went to bed. The next day, I got a letter from Marnie about pet licenses. I'll probably adopt another one in the future. Once Clint was done complaining about a lack of a girlfriend, he gave me my upgraded axe. I swung by Robin's and I asked her to upgrade my coop. Then I left more eggs at the saloon. I destroyed this tree log and got access to the secret woods. There was a small pond and I managed to perfectly catch a wood skip. I sprinted to the community centre and handed it over, completing the final fishing bundle. The Junimos were super happy and gave the aquarium a much needed makeover. As I was admiring this clean tank and fish, a Junimo appeared with another star. That brings the total up to 3. We're halfway there! After a very productive day, I headed to bed. During the night, the Junimos removed the rock near the mines. I went to Clint's and asked him to upgrade my pickaxe. I should have done this ages ago, but this is me we're talking about. I am not very efficient. It felt odd going into the mines without a pickaxe, but I still needed metal bars. I left the mines as I suddenly remembered the egg quest. Unsure about what to do next, I went to bed and slept. On day 105, Robin wrote a letter and asked for 10 hardwood. I reckon I can do that. I ran to the secret woods and chopped down some tree stumps for Robin. Then I went to Marnie and I bought a rabbit, who I named Wombus. Next stop was the saloon to hand over more eggs. I went to the mountain for some reason and Willie was there talking about shiny stuff in the river and the missing rock. I spent the rest of the day in the mines for more metal bars. I didn't get any, so I went home to bed. The bookseller was in town today, so I bought the prize catalogue. I then picked up my copper pickaxe from Clint. With my pickaxe in hand, I went back to the mines for more metal bars. I remembered to hand over the final 2 eggs and got a nice 6,000 money as a reward. Thanks, Gus. For some ungodly reason, I accepted Robin's resource rush as a quest. I'm like 90% sure this was a mistake and it's probably going to go horribly. My strategy was to mine the massive 2x2 rocks and get 10 stone each time. Eventually, I went home to bed. There was a mini-fridge in the mail from Gus today. I headed to the mines to continue the strategy of mining stone. I went into Lewis's house to hand over some tickets, but he wanted to mansplain it to me. It was getting late and I was out of energy, so I went home and climbed into bed. After doing some farm chores, I saw a letter from Lewis asking if I'd gotten Elliot anything for the gift exchange. For some reason, I thought Elliot loved crabs, but it turns out he loved crab cakes instead, so I needed to think of something else. I went back to the mines to progress in the quest. I did manage to find a secret note, and at some point I'm going to complete all of the secret notes. I was well over halfway through the quest when I realised how low my energy was, so I went home and crawled into bed after watching a bit of TV. I checked my silo on day 109 and I noticed it was getting a bit low, so I filled it up. Soon, the Feast of the Winter Star began, so I ran around and spoke to all of the NPCs that I could find to increase friendship points. One thing that I've been lacking in this challenge so far is friendship. Most of the villagers are at 0 or 1 heart. I finally found Elliot and gave him a golden pumpkin that I'd been holding on to. Emily had me and she gave me a beer. I think I might give this to Pam at some point. The festival might be over, but the day isn't, so I marched back into the mines for more stone. I checked how I was doing and I was pleased with the progress, so I went home and went to bed. Gus sent me a letter today asking for an albacore. Really, Gus? Have you checked this wonderful thing called a calendar? You might benefit from it. I wasn't really looking forward to fishing, but it didn't seem to matter as the travelling cart had one for sale. That's helpful. There was also an iridium bar, so I bought that as well. I headed into the mines in an attempt to finish off the resource rush quest. I took a short break to deliver the albacore to Gus, but I had to complete the omelette cutscene first. I gave Gus the fish and he seemed proper pleased about it. I returned to the mines to finish the quest. With a bit of energy left, I just about managed to finish it. After an incredibly productive day, I jumped into bed and slept. The next day, Robin sent me a recipe for a stone chest. As I was doing farm chores, I noticed that Wumbus had fully grown up and had left some wool behind. I was digging behind the mountain and found a houseplant buried. That is really weird. Is that a bug or can that actually happen? Either way, I remembered to give Robin 10 hardwood. Next stop was the community centre and I handed over the piece of wool and completed all of the bundles for the pantry. As a reward, I got a cheese press. The Junimos also gave the pantry a makeover and it looks amazing. Whilst I was admiring the changes, a Junimo appeared with another staff of the community centre. As I was walking through the town, I found an ornamental fan. Time to give that to Gunther, which is immediately what I did. In the afternoon, I got a ticket to Calico Desert. I can't remember what the plan was, or if there even was a plan. I decided to hoe some artifact spots and found some carrot seeds. In the Skull Cavern, I found a dinosaur which gave me a prehistoric tibia. I realised that I didn't have the strength or the resources for the Skull Cavern, so I returned to the mines for more metal bars. Unfortunately, I am not a smart person and I ended up dying in the mines to a slime. Tired by how much I had done that day, I went to bed. During the night, the Junimos fixed the greenhouse and something jumped out of it. It's the final day of winter and the final day of the year. I started off by setting up a small farm in the greenhouse and plant various seeds. After doing a bit of foraging, I head to the museum and hand over the prehistoric tibia. Gunther gives me a skeleton as a reward. I guess that makes sense. I once again go back to the mines for more metal bars and secret notes. As I'm killing void spirits and diving into the mines, I take this time to reflect on the past year. I have spent 112 days without crafting or using a furnace. I have a fully upgraded coop, nearly completed the community centre, caught a lot of unique fish, nearly maxed all of the skills, neglected all of the NPCs, been to Skull Cavern, upgraded a few of my tools, nearly finished museum, and my dog loves me. I call this very successful. Sure, there's a few things that I could do differently, but this is the way that I want to do it. However, reflection has to end at some point, and it ended when I was killed again in the mine. As Hugo snored by me, I wondered if I should get him a friend in the new year. I went to bed content, but on the brink of death.